on our behalf went to the legislators and the governor's office and passed this information along. And it sounds like any day now we're supposed to get approval. Now, I will tell you that we've been hearing this for the past few weeks. However, why it's different this time is that these dollars were caught up in between approval of the governor's office and legislators, because as you're going to hear in a few minutes, right now in Florida, it's the legislative sessions are taking place where rules and bills get passed. And when that happens, it's those legislators that have the authority to make decisions about budgets. So they felt that it was their responsibility rather than the governor's office. So there was a little bit of a push and pull that we were kind of this money kind of got caught up in, which is unfortunate. But it sounds like up in Tallahassee that everybody's aware that these dollars need to come down to the coalitions ASAP, so that they can get into the hands of providers. And we will certainly here at the ELC, we will continue to advocate for those dollars. So stay tuned, because we're hoping to have information very quickly. And I will tell you, internally at the ELC, we are set and ready to go. When we get the okay that we can move forward, as soon as we can, we will move forward with this to expedite it as quickly as possible. Additionally, what you should know is that we also, and I say we, I mean the ELC staff, we recently went to our board of directors and said, if we have additional dollars, we want to put those dollars towards helping providers even more financially. So as you may recall, a year ago, we did some mini grants. They were called mini grants, to supplement the CARES dollars that was authorized. We are going to be doing that again. We got approval recently. We had a board meeting this month. I believe it was last week, late last week. So we are moving forward with that as well. So watch out for information about that. We are trying to get it out as quickly as possible, but we don't want it to be confusing with these other dollars that we are expecting any day now. So we are moving forward with that, and we're hoping that that is helpful relief for your organization related to the impact of COVID-19. What else do I have on my agenda is that as of this week, the Early Learning Coalition, we've enrolled 1,300 new children from our waiting list. So we have moved those children, most of them have enrolled into care. And we're going to continue to do that throughout this fiscal year and likely beyond. And I thought it'd be helpful for you guys to be aware that, we've always had a waiting list, for years, but often parents were on that waiting list for a really long time. I thought it would be helpful for you guys to know that we are up to January cases. So families that signed up on our waiting list in January, we are now enrolling them. So sometimes people used to wait on the wait list for years because we didn't have additional dollars for those enrollments. But right now we're moving these cases as quickly as we can. And as a result, the wait is, a few months instead of many months. So we're very pleased about that. And the other thing I should mention is we are actively doing outreach to continue to have eligible families sign up for that wait list, because it would be absolutely unfortunate if we went through our wait list. It would be a great thing if we thought that every child that was eligible for school readiness was enrolled. Then we would be happy. But we know that there are so many more families in Broward based on the data we have for the income of families, that we know that there are more eligible children. So we are really excited with the help of organizations like yours that are spreading the word about this wait list. And I encourage you, as you meet families who may be eligible, to have them put their names on that wait list. And we're hoping at some point we're at a point where we are just enrolling. As parents come in, we are enrolling. That's our goal. And hopefully we'll get there in the very near future. I did want to just give you lastly, just the heads up, as I mentioned, it is legislative session for 2021. Yesterday was day 50, and we only have about 2 more weeks of legislation. And that's when we hear about the budget, etc. So the budget looks, looks good for next year. But there is one big early learning bill that's in there. It moved along very well through the process. It has stalled, but it is back on the calendar, which is good news. But the bill has kind of been broken into pieces, and some of the information about the kindergarten screeners, the flickers, right? The kindergarten readiness assessment, which is the STAR literacy. That language related to that tool was actually taken out of the early learning bill, and it was put into a new bill. That's a literacy bill for pre-K through 3rd grade. It's just some more trainings related to literacy for educators. But they did infuse in there something that would deem that kindergarten readiness score would no longer be tied back to a provider, which is great news. So that was put in there and into that bill, and it was approved as an amendment. And now we're just watching to see what happens if that gets approved. So for you VPK providers, this could be, big news. And it sounds like in the overall early learning bill that I mentioned, it's also, there's a whole lot of language about not having just one score tied to a VPK provider. So a lot going on. There's still 2 weeks left. As soon as we have more information, we'll let you know. If this big early learning bill goes through, that will mean some changes for VPK providers in terms of what assessments are done and how, so, but what was in the bill, I can assure you, is a lot of time to implement any of these changes. That was something really important. I know the coalitions around the state and other partners really pushed for that, because this is not the time to be, it's the time to be focusing on early education and how we can move the system forward, but it's certainly not the time to be infusing a lot of new things into the system with everyone still struggling with COVID-19 and the impacts it's had on our program. So we're super mindful of that, and we've been advocating and pushing for at least a year of time to implement these changes. So and that was something that the legislators were in fact open to. So we'll see what happens, and I will certainly let you know. We've been talking to all the elected officials and legislators, pushing, for funding for early learning programs and how to have the best system possible. So we're crossing our fingers that we'll see some positive changes for the childcare industry and the children, and of course our childcare small businesses in Broward. So with that, if anyone has any questions, they can either put it in the chat feature, and I will wait to see if anybody has any questions. I don't think so. All right, guys. Well, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you today. For those that are on screen, it's great to see you all, and have a great rest of your plan meeting. Allison?
And thank you, Renee. It is so nice to see everyone's faces. It is cool. I see Jen, I see Darrow, again, like on the Magic, what was that show again? Where they say the names when we were kids, if you're dating yourself, I can't remember the name of it.
Is it the Magic Garden? What was something garden, right? Magic Garden?
No. 40s and Forgetful. I don't know. Romper Room. Right. So that's it. Thanks, Ida. I knew you remembered. So it is great to see everybody. And next up, we have a special speaker today, Natalie from Health Foundations of South Florida. Natalie, are you here?
I'm here.
Great, thank you. Well, welcome. It's nice to see your face and put the name to the face. You have sharing,
Awesome.
whatever it's called, sharing rights. So go for it. You can share your great information with everybody.
Awesome. All right, great. Well, thank you all so much for having me. Like Allison mentioned, I'm the director of policy affairs with the Health Foundation of South Florida. We are a grant making organization based out of Miami-Dade County. I see a couple familiar faces and names. We cover Broward, Miami-Dade, and Monroe counties. And Renee, I loved hearing your legislative session update. It's most of my job is, or a lot of it is sort of listening to and paying attention to what happens up there. So always interested in having that early childhood perspective. And I just want to start out by acknowledging and thanking each and every one of you for everything that you do for our children in South Florida. So just thank you all for having me here. I'm honored to be in your presence. So with that, I am going to share about a vaccine messaging initiative that we have been collaborating with a number of partners across not just Broward County, but the region. So Miami-Dade and Broward. Can I get some head nods and thumbs up to make sure that everybody can see the screen? All right, thanks, Allison. Okay, I'm not going to be able to see most of you. And I also want to acknowledge, I loved the music when I joined, and I've been popping into a lot of Zoom coalition meetings from Broward and Miami-Dade, and they've all been wonderful and special and unique in their own ways. But I think the general tone of this one, I think, was especially welcoming. And so again, happy to be here. All right, so I'm going to be describing this regional COVID vaccine messaging campaign. I think we were really eager and grateful that Renee offered a slot on this provider network meeting because of the fact that we know that you all are trusted in your communities during census season. I know that I was very involved at the census, and I know that we really looked to early childhood providers during the census to get that word out. And so I think it's sort of same idea here with COVID vaccines. We know that people may be asking, or it may just kind of come up. And so we kind of wanted to prepare some resources for frontline providers that are potentially going to be having conversations, just so that people don't have to individually create anything. Or, you know, we also were conscious of maybe there's CDC or federal or state resources available that people can use, but we wanted to make something also especially local. So I'm going to share mostly a communications toolkit for those of you who would like to use some of these, but I'll also just describe the overall initiative, because you might hear the slogan and the hashtag you might see on social media coming out. That's our hope, at least. So at the highest level, this campaign that we're leading, we actually last year at the beginning of COVID, kind of recognizing that we were a health foundation and recognizing at the time that there was so much need coming up, what we did is we were focusing initially on ensuring accessibility to testing. And so we funded a number of grassroots partners throughout Miami-Dade and Broward, included organizations like the YMCA, a group called Centro Campesino that works in South Dade, and had them support access to testing, because this was at the time that, if you all remember, COVID testing was available, but it was mostly through drive-through sites, you know, so it was excluding large blocks of our community. So we wrapped up that initiative earlier this year and then started looking ahead. We had extra funding allocated for this because our board had approved $1.5 million. And we recognized that vaccines, this was back in February of this year, so about 2 months ago, vaccines were kind of coming in the pipeline. More and more of the population with passing days were becoming eligible for it. And yet lots of misinformation is circulating about the vaccines. And so we wanted to make sure that people had access to the correct information to make the right decision for themselves and their families. So what we are doing is kind of grass tops through the media, but also we're continuing to fund grassroots partners throughout the community that are going to be doing things like canvassing and setting up special events. And we also wanted to make sure that organizations, again, like I mentioned, that are on the front lines, that are having interactions with families, can also have some resources to supplement any conversations that they might be having about the vaccine, or if questions are just kind of coming up organically. This is a cross-county effort. It involves elected officials from both Miami-Dade and Broward, including both county mayors and County Commissioner Senator Nan Rich. Have been actively involved. The CSC is a key partner, the Department of Health in both counties, Memorial Health System, Jackson Health System, Baptist Health System. So we have a lot of healthcare and political leaders that are supporting this, as well as, like I mentioned, grassroots community-based organizations that are supporting. We want to make sure that the message that is featured is positive and aspirational. You'll see at the bottom, we have this tagline, I did it, lo hice. It'll be translated into Portuguese and Creole as well. All the resources will be available in all 4 of those languages. And what we're hoping to do is prepare brandable flyers, have a toolkit, have social media that people can use, and drive people to a website that'll be regularly updated. We know that information is coming out every single day and every single week around the vaccines, and so we're gonna keep that website up to date. All right, so the toolkit is really what I'm here to talk about, but I wanted to also give that high-level overview so that if you see billboards or you hear media spots or TV spots, you can kind of connect the resources that are going to be available for you all. So specifically, I keep saying resources. What comes in this toolkit that we're sharing about are fact sheets and talking points, social media graphics, other useful stuff, which is really just like a editable template where people can put where there's local vaccine sites in their own neighborhoods. And I wanted to also emphasize that this is brandable. We hope that partners will want to and consider putting their own logos on these materials for use, because we recognize that the folks that you serve don't necessarily know who the Health Foundation of South Florida is, but they know you, they trust you. And I'm not monitoring the chat. So if there's any questions, I will, after I pause at the end, answer questions. But also feel free to unmute and just ask if there's something kind of timely. So here's what some of the fact sheets and talking points look like. Key talking points are available in English. Everything else that is more community facing will be available Spanish and Creole, and I believe Portuguese. So everything on the website is definitely translated, and then there's going to be these toolkits on the website. There's basic sort of FAQs, and then we're also developing these specific to certain populations. We have one right now for the Black community and one for the Latino community. We're also thinking about 5 reasons that young people, right, like young adults, should get vaccinated. And we're happy to, if you have any feedback and you think maybe, families with young children should get vaccinated, happy to take that feedback back to our communications team. Here's what some of the social media graphics look like. They'll be available for Facebook.
But she won't miss that at her school, I tell you.
I think that's not a question. I'm back. So social media, like I mentioned, it'll be the 3 main platforms, and pretty straightforward, pretty positive. And then this is when I said other brandable stuff. For any groups that anticipate you're going to be doing a lot of this type of conversation and want to just provide something for your community, you can list out like very specific, the CVS on the corner and certain specific locations. This is what the website looks like. It's actually live already. I did it, sfl.com, and then you'll see when you navigate there at the top right here, there's a homepage, myths versus facts, about, and then there will be a toolkit space, and then people can go to the toolkit and download. If you were to go right now, you would see the toolkit tab is there. Do not download anything yet. We've had a number of experts kind of go through and do a last minute vetting with the latest information because some of this stuff was drafted a couple weeks ago. So we want to make sure that that information is as
Natalie,
timely.
can you repeat the website, please?
I did it, sfl.com, and I will drop it.
Yeah, we want to drop it in the chat. It's just, I'm having a problem bringing it up. And okay, there it is. So, and just so you guys know, I did actually, just to shout Natalie out, I did go on the website yesterday. I kind of took a tour about it and it was very cool. Shout out to the neighborhoods that were spotlighted from Broward. There were like local folks on there and even some neighborhoods and people that I recognize from my days in Miami. So check it out. It really has some great information and I don't get paid to say that. It just was a cool website to visit.
Thanks, Allison. Yeah, I think our communications team was really thoughtful about not going to Las Olas, not going to South Beach. Like they went to Willie's, which I have actually never been. I'm ashamed, but now I know. I'm aware that's a place to go. So yeah, they went to like Vicky Bakery. I know is across the region, and then really recognizable places, like you'll see an Oakland Park bus on there. And so again, it was to just kind of capture the relief and the joy and just the sense of accomplishment that people feel when they get the vaccine. And I'll say, like I got my first dose recently and I was definitely nervous. I was not one of the types that felt relief, but I definitely felt a sense of achievement. And so I think this campaign is designed to just kind of bottle and capture that sense of like, I did it. And I certainly walked around for the rest of the day, kind of showing off my Band-Aid to people and taking selfies. Like I did it. I was terrified. I was shaken, but I did it. And also recognizing, I think, Allison, I appreciate that shout out. When you get immediately to the website, I don't know if you noticed, but the first thing it says is it's okay to have questions, like you're right to have questions. And then once you scroll through, you'll see there's specific information and then a myths versus facts section.
That was really interesting. I will say I did read through the myths and the facts. I was curious and I'm vaccinated, but I just thought it was still very interesting to read.
So one thing I want to just put out there, today, like as soon as I finish here, I'm going to finish my lunch and then run over to Florida Memorial University, where there's a press conference happening to launch the campaign. By Friday, we expect the communications toolkit that I reference on that website to be fully functional, downloadable, up to date as of this week. And I will send an email to Allison and Renee so that you all know that it's ready for download if you want to use it. So one is if you have a communications presence, if you send out newsletters, if you have a social media presence and want to use those materials, we welcome it. If you want to print stuff, then what we're going to be doing when I send out the email on Friday is sort of taking orders for printing. And so we'll ask people to share a logo. I don't know if it might make sense to just have an ELC logo. We could maybe talk offline, Allison and Renee, or individual providers. If you want your specific logo on things, we're also happy to kind of entertain that and just figure out who wants printed materials. So we'll start taking those orders sort of first come, first serve this Friday. That's it. I know it's kind of a lot, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's really straightforward and simple. So happy to answer any questions. And then the last thing I want to sort of plant the idea. I know I have not given any substantive information to you all today. I'm a public interest lawyer. I'm not a vaccine expert or a public health expert, but if there's interest, we would be happy. Since we are partnered with so many hospitals, we actually asked if some of the hospitals might be able to lend some of their experts to talk directly to providers and community. So if that's something that would be of interest, we're happy to help coordinate and set that up. Maybe at your next meeting, if there's space on the agenda to have someone come in and actually answer some of those like myths and facts and whatnot.
Natalie, that would be great. We would love to have something. We don't even have to wait till our next meeting, but we can have some kind of a webinar, like an info session. That would be fabulous.
Cool. All right, I'll add ELC to the list. I'm
Yay.
drop my email in the chat.
And we'll follow up with everybody that's on this meeting. We'll send
And
everything out again after. So if you don't catch it from the chat box, we'll make sure to send out an email to you with everything from today's meeting. Okay.
well, thank you all
Thank you,
again.
Natalie. Thank you for joining us. Yay, Broward. And next up is our fabulous, I always sing her praises, Miss Anna Roa, our OEL representative. She's here with her partner in crime, Carla. She's on as well. And I lost you guys. Myself.
We're here.
Okay. Do you see your slide, your fabulous slide?
I do. You are perfect.
Then you got the floor, my friend.
Thank you. So hi, everyone. I'm very excited to let you all know that the Office of Early Learning is offering learning circles concentrating on our social studies domain. These sessions will be offered based on our 8 components. As you can see in my background, all of these little circles are all of our components like culture, economics and resources, technology in our world, and as well as many more. So these circles also provide early childhood, these learning circles also provide early childhood educators. They will have an opportunity to share professional learning experiences via conversations about strategies and best practices in the preschool classroom. How cool is that? So participants will select, and as you can see on my PowerPoint slide, you will select and register via the Social Studies Learning Circle calendar posted at the link provided on the chat. And my partner Carla will do that right now. And once you have registered and attended, the Office of Early Learning is going to award 1.5 in service points to all participants who are actively engaged in the Learning Circle experience. So I hope to see all my Broward people there. So if you have any further questions about registrations, you can totally reach us out at VPK Learning Circles at oel.myflorida.com. So I'm going to go ahead and put that email address on the chat as well, and hope that you can definitely all attend. Thank you so much, Allison. And I just want to wish everybody a great day. But before I go, shout out to all who contributed to the Broward Conference. We had an amazing, amazing time, and it was an amazing, great learning experience. So thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. You were one of our special attendees for the conference. And I have to say, you guys, it's been a week, a little over a week, that it feels like a month already since the conference. And all realness, I did just move this past weekend, so that just kind of changed things, that it just does feel like a year ago that we did that conference, the virtual one. But yes, thank you everybody for attending. And now next up on the agenda is Mr. Howard Bacalar, who just looks thrilled at the moment. And there we go, that's better. So I will hand it over to Howard.
Thanks, Allison. It's because, oh, your hand, okay, I got it.
Handing it to you.
I got it with 2 hands. How's that? So, no, it seems there was a small plane crash right down the street here this morning. So I'm dodging houses and things, I guess. It's been a busy day. So Renee stole part of my thunder, but I'll do the little thunder for our grant process. So as we wait for OEL to be allowed to release their next stimulus dollars, meaning their next grant process, we should get a good idea, hopefully this Friday, whether they're going to in the next week or so. That said, if it doesn't look like they are, we'll release our local dollars. Christine and I were chatting before. We're pretty sure we can get that out next week. If we don't see the stimulus, meaning the federal stimulus dollars coming out quickly, we'll put our dollars out. As Renee said, we don't want to do them at the same time because that will confuse everyone. We don't want folks thinking that they've applied for a grant that they didn't apply for. So we'll do our best to uncomplicate the two grant processes. But as soon as we know, we'll be sending e-blasts, carrier pigeons, whatever it takes, skywriting planes, just not the ones that crash here, to let you know that our next grant cycle is out and about. And still, it's amazing, but about figure 2/3 of the childcare providers actually apply for these grants that take about 30 seconds to fill out. So please don't be in the 1/3 that doesn't seem to ever want to apply for these grant dollars. There's nothing to it, really. 30 seconds to apply for thousands of dollars. It seems worth it. So look for the notification from us. I know I'm also on here for summer VPK. I can just do the headline news and I'll leave the smart stuff to Amy Unger because she's way better at this than I am. So you guys probably saw that for summer VPK, the amount of hours was changed from 300 to 200, right? Amy, Allison, nod your head yes. You can still provide more if you'd like, but knowing that the school year VPK seemed to be bumping into and then over the summer VPK classes, this was OEL's fix. Now, I'm going to leave the next pieces to Amy, but I see Marlene and Donna and folks, you guys especially, hi Donna, there, I got you to turn, perfect. Talking about child absences due to COVID or classroom closures due to COVID for VPK. It's not the ELC, I saw the chat, it's not the ELC that makes the rules on whether we can reimburse you or not. Those all come from OEL. That said, good news, OEL is trying to, they've said they will pay for closures past 5 days, those 5 days. They're figuring out the mechanics of how to do that right now. So it's all systems go, except they have to just figure out in the system how they actually account for it and do it. Oh, it's Melody, I think, who sent that. Okay, that's all the knowledge I have in my head because I can't hold anymore. I'll leave the rest to Amy to answer smart questions. So thank you, Amy and Allison, as always, my team for supporting me because I'm not nearly as smart as they are.
Thank you, Howard. Amy Unger, you're not set on the agenda next, but since you got such a great opening, we can be a little flexible and throw it to you. So there you go.
Okay, I'll take it. To elaborate on what Howard was saying, first of all, I disagree. Howard, you're a very smart man. You hired us, right? Good thinking. So VPK, a couple of things. The summer VPK being 200 hours. One thing that I don't think is being emphasized enough is that you do want to make sure you understand that the payment is prorated, meaning if you don't offer the full 300 hours, your payment will be less than it typically is. That being said, you certainly don't want to do a program that's not developmentally appropriate. The kids can't be in school 11 hours a day, but when you're doing your budgeting, you just need to make sure that you understand that if you're doing fewer hours, it will ultimately affect the bottom line of what you're going to bring in for summer VPK. So keep that in mind as you plan your calendar. As far as the paying for the closures, as Howard said, yes, OEL has decided that they're able to pay for closures in excess of those 5 days, which is the typical year, if those closures occur between January and June, the end of the year. So typically, we would ask you to change your calendar when you have closures outside of that 5 days. We do not want you to change your calendar at this point. We don't know the specifics of what OEL is going to do on the back end to cover that payment. But we do know that that's what you would do in a typical year when you're not getting paid. So it seems like there would be no point in changing your calendar now. What I do want to remind everybody to do is let us know immediately when you have those closures. You can do that right on the provider portal, because what I'm finding is that most providers are not reporting that to us until it's time to do the attendance at the end of the month. I report to OEL weekly how many providers in our county are closed. And I'm sure that that information is used to make decisions like whether or not they can pay for the additional 5 days. So it's really important that we get that information in a timely manner. So just a reminder about that. While I have the floor, I'm going to go on and do my other updates. So right now we're getting ready for school readiness and VPK contracts. The majority of you have completed your profiles for the 21-22 year, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you. That's a big help. We do have a lot of profiles that are currently in rejected status. So that means you submitted it, which was great, but when we reviewed it, there was something that we needed you to correct or to change. So we kind of sent that back to you for corrections. So make sure that you check the status of your 21-22 profile. If it's in rejected, you should have a note explaining what the issues are, what we need you to fix. If you have any questions, you know you can reach out to your provider relations specialist. But we can't move forward with your 21-22 contracts until that profile is activated, and the contracts are expected to be available any day now. So we really want to move forward. Also, a word about the ASQs. So the developmental screening, the ASQ screener, is now taking place in the provider portal and family portal. Previously, we were using a different method. You were reporting those results through a different portal. The whole process has changed, and we're actually doing a workshop about that tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. If you didn't sign up yet, I don't think it's too late. We would love to have you. Sorry, I'm getting a call. There we go. Most important thing to note is that you're going to have to make an effort to look and see when you have screenings due in your program, because you're not getting those reminder notices out of the system anymore. So again, if you're not quite sure where you're looking for those or what the changes are, please join us for our workshop tomorrow morning at 9. And then last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about the SR Match program. Those of you that have been here for a while are familiar with a program that we used to call CCEP, or the Child Care Executive Partnership. That is now what we call SR Match. It's a program for you as a business owner to assist your employees with the cost of their child care. So a lot of the requirements are the same as they are for school readiness, but the way it affects you is that you as a business owner are going to be reimbursed 50% for those children that are funded through this program. It's an especially great benefit if you have employees with school-age children, because while the wait list in general is moving very quickly these days, unfortunately, the school-age children are a lower priority for enrollment. They could end up waiting quite some time for childcare services. But if your program decides to participate in the SR Match funding, you can help those families that have the school-age program to get their childcare services pretty much right away. So you're going to be getting an email from your provider relations representative in the next couple of days that's going to have the commitment form. That's how you communicate to us that you want to participate in that program. So we hope to see a lot of you turning those back in. Check in the chat because I see a few questions in here. Give me 1 second. If you already changed your calendar, we are keeping track of all of those changes that have been submitted based on the closures in your VPK programs. So once we have some details from OEL about how to fix this, we will let you know what we need you to do, but rest assured that we have records on what everybody has done. So we will make sure that you can change it back if that's the decision that OEL makes. If only one room is closed because of COVID or a child was exposed. Okay, so at this point in time, the announcement by OEL only talks about program closures. It doesn't talk about individual child absences. To my knowledge, there has not been any announcement made about changing the 80-20 rule based on child absences. I know that has been brought up. There has been questions about it. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it has not been announced yet. We don't know anything about that yet. This is about if your program or a VPK class closed. Same thing. It's the 5 days. In addition to the 5 days, now they will be paying for it. We just need to figure that out. And let's see. Somebody's asking about the SR Match or CCEP. Do they have to reapply every year? The answer is yes. Every single year, we do need to get a new commitment form from you. So definitely, please make sure you look out for that email. If you have questions, you can reach out to us. And we will make sure that we get an updated form from you. Let's see. SR tab registration fee option. Do you notice that there's a payment option for registrations? Yes, there is a process now to pay for registration fees for providers. when you're completing your provider profile, there's a section where you complete your rates and your fees. And it asks for, I think it says annual registration fee. You'll see a little yellow symbol next to it on the screen. That means that whatever you put in that box is going to show up on your school readiness contract. And that's what the system is using to pay you for registration fees. If you don't have something in there now, we can do an amendment of your contract for the current year. And we are looking for that as we review your profiles for the upcoming year. So if we don't see something there, we would be reaching out to you to say, are you sure? And I do see that Allison just put in the chat the link for our ASQ workshop tomorrow. So we hope to see a lot of you there. I see one more question. Hold on. Parent just signed up for our VPK class done in June, and we should be able to. Oh, okay. So the rule for changing from school year VPK to summer has not really changed very much. The rule is that if the children have not used 70% of their hours during the school year, then they are eligible to request a re-enrollment into summer, but there are certain conditions that they have to meet. I believe that if the child was absent a lot due to COVID, that would probably be one of the acceptable reasons. I think there is an option about a child's illness or a family member illness. It does require some documentation to be uploaded, but the parent would request that in the provider in the family portal where they first applied for VPK. They could apply for re-enrollment into a subsequent program year. And they can always call our customer service staff if they need some guidance with that. The number is 954-377-2188. They will help you as much as they can or connect you to the VPK staff if need be. Will registration payment be triggered by the ELC, or we have to trigger it in the portal? I am going to defer that question hopefully to Christine. I think Sandra's out this week, but hopefully Christine can answer that. That's a process on the payment side, and I don't want to steer you wrong on that. Let's see, one more question about SR Match. We have an employee who was approved for the match program, but the child is still not showing, and mom still doesn't see the certificate on the portal. Okay, so with that, I would say if you send that information to your provider relations specialist, we will get it to the right people in family services to figure out what's going on with that particular child's case and figure out how we can get it resolved for you. And I think that's all the questions in the chat. I think I was talking really fast. I hope everybody understood me. Going once, going twice.
Well, this is not, well, Amy will kill me for this, but this is not your only opportunity to ever ask a question. So you can always call us, like Amy said, at 954-377-2188 or email us.
Yes, we have questions at elcbroward.org.
Questions@elcbroward.org. Awesome.
Thanks, Allison.
So next up, we're going to head over to the other Amy, who's going to talk to us about school readiness program assessment and class assessments.
Thank you, Allison. So everyone, last month, thank you. Tiffany and I got to co-host the plan meeting, which was very exciting. And we talked a little bit about what was happening with the school readiness program assessment and the rule update. We just learned yesterday on our monthly quality performance webinar with OEL that the rule was approved by the state board and is now in effect. So all of the items that we spoke about last month, the fact that we are going to move forward with any composite score that goes as far back as July 1st of 2018 in order to move forward with your contracts for 21-22. So we are able to do that. We are bringing in cohorts, groups of providers with kind of similar status in school readiness program assessment. So those that don't have a composite score, we met last week, and we're going to be moving forward in the next 2 weeks with getting them their composite score so that they can move forward with their contract. There are implications based on these updates that providers who have a composite score that at the time was within the contract threshold and within and above the quality improvement threshold, now that might not be the case for you. So we will be bringing you in as well over the next few weeks to discuss how this impacts you and what options we can offer to you. So please be on the lookout. Our staff and the education team will be reaching out to you. We will probably send you a link to a Zoom meeting, which will be the information session. You can always confirm with myself. We have an email that you can contact, which is class@ELC Broward, I always get it confused.
class@elcbroward.org.
I always get it confused.
class@elcbroward.org.
That is, thank you, Tiffany, for putting it in the chat. You can reach me there or any education staff that is working on school readiness program assessment, and confirm your provider relations specialists are aware as well, and you can talk to them about it. But please come to the information sessions because it's really important for you to know exactly your particular case and how this may impact you. If you don't hear from us, that means you're probably good to go, and you will just move on with your contract. And then throughout the next year, beginning July 1st, we will also be bringing you in kind of in cohorts to do your annual program assessments. So if you don't hear from us before July 1st, that means you're good to contract. If you hear from us before that, we may have some things that we need to discuss and work out with you.
And just to add on to that, the ever changing rule and OEL changing their requirements, just so you know, like class, the school readiness program assessment is so important because Amy Unger and her team can't do the contracting piece without our piece. So we have a united front as we're mom and dad of contracting now, Amy Unger's team and our team. So we are working very closely together. So you guys know that you can't have one without the other. So just so you know. And again, just keep looking out for information, everything. And that's it. And so if you have questions and want to get your staff ready and want to know a little more about class and get trained on it, I will now turn it over to Tiffany, who will talk about our training calendar and how to request assistance. Tiffany.
Thank you, Allison. So as Allison said, I'm going to be talking about training and how to request technical assistance. So for trainings, all of our May trainings are posted on our ELC website. So if you've had a chance to check out the training calendar, you've probably noticed that there's a lot of trainings listed on the calendar for the month of May. So that's because it's not only the trainings that we typically offer each month, but there's also a series that's being offered for challenging behaviors. So there's different modules and there's sessions 1 and session 2 for each of those modules. So you'll notice that there are trainings listed for the month of April and then also for the month of May. So Allison, let me see, do I have screen sharing privileges? Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen so I can bring up the training calendar and also so that you're able to see where you can access the technical assistance request form. So if you go to providers and you click on training calendar, you will see all of our lovely trainings that are offered for the month of April and also throughout May. And these are all of those part 1 and part 2 afternoon and evening sessions that are focusing specifically on challenging behaviors that are being offered. And then these are all of our trainings that we're offering as well. Now, for the technical assistance, if you still click on providers, and then if you just hover over quality and education to the right, you'll see request educational technical assistance or training. So if there's something that you want more information on that's related to education, this is where you have the opportunity to request that technical assistance. So as you can see, if you complete the form, it's going to ask you for some identifying information like your program name, your first and last name, the address, and then here is where you can select what specific area of technical assistance or training you feel is needed. And we ask that you select up to 2 options for your program. And there's a lot for you to choose from. So if you click here, you'll see the drop-down menu. There's ASQ, there's classroom management, challenging behavior. There are the Florida Early and Education Developmental Standards. There's class that Allison was mentioning about. So there's infant class, there's pre-K class, there's toddler class, there's SERPA that Amy spoke about a little earlier. There's Teaching Strategies Gold if you're using child assessment or if you want to learn more about it. And also if you're a provider on probation for VPK, or if you're just a VPK provider and you do need some educational technical assistance as well. So I hope that you do take advantage of this. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me. I will put the email address for training in the box as well, in the chat box, so that you have that. Also, a needs assessment was sent out to you through Constant Contact earlier this morning to really gauge your training needs. So as I said, the training calendar is scheduled all the way through May, but for the summer, we do want to know what trainings are you interested in seeing from us. We want to best support your needs. So please complete the needs assessment survey and send it back to us so we can really help you with those professional development opportunities. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
And just also to add, to stay tuned, because we have another training series coming soon. There'll be some Saturday sessions related to trauma. So that should be posted by the end of the week. So stay tuned for that. And again, just really take advantage of this request option because it's there for you. So if you don't want to necessarily attend one of our trainings in the evening or in the afternoon, but you want some other assistance, just reach out to us that way. So thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome. Allison, I just want to answer a question that's in the chat box. All of our trainings are for in-service hours only. At this time, we are not offering any CEUs, so all trainings are for in-service hours only.
And next up is, where is he? I just saw him. He's got to give me a smile before I introduce. There we go. So Hubert is next up, and he's going to share a little bit about the redetermination status.
Hello, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen really quick so you all can see. I have a couple of slides for you all. You see my screen?
Yep, you are good.
All right, perfect. Okay, so I'm here to talk about the upcoming and past due redeterminations. So I know we reported about maybe a month ago, the last plan meeting, that you all can log into the portal and be able to see the children under upcoming or past due redetermination. And soon after that, maybe a few weeks later, we receive a message from a few of you that you were not seeing children in your queue. So what we've done is we've worked with OEL to make sure that you are able to see the children. But the problem is, let me go to the next page here. The problem is that first thing is, in order for you to get to the queue, created a quick screenshot for you to know how to get there if you didn't know. So the way to get there is once you're logged into your portal, just go under enrollment, manage SR enrollments, redeterminations, and then there's an upcoming and a past due redetermination queue. So those queue, one is going to show you what's coming, and the other one is going to show you past due. And the issue we were having is, and we're still working with OEL on that, is that when you go under your upcoming redetermination, you were not seeing kids because OEL is only pulling children with upcoming redetermination 15 days from their due date. So that of course, would show you a lot less children than you would see on the Blue Jeans system. So what we decided to do is work with OEL to see if they can add more days to the queue, so that way you can see children at least 45 days. We have not, they have not done this yet, but that is something that we are working with OEL to make sure when you log into the portal, that you can see children at least 45 days in advance, because the parents do get a notification 45 days in advance, but you are in the classroom, you are seeing them sometime on the daily or every other days. So it's important that if you can remind them that their redetermination is due, it helps us out, because we can make sure that reads are done on time. So now, if it is working properly, when you do have children under the redetermination queue, this is how it would look. I'm hiding the child name here, but you can see that this provider has one child under the redetermination work queue, and then it shows you the date that it's due, and that's how the information is populated on here. And the issue is that when you log into your BlueJean portal, you may have 13 or 14, as the example I'm going to show you. Here, that provider has 4 kids, has just one child, right? But then on the BlueJean side, once you log into BlueJean, there's a lot more children. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's because OEL's only pulling data for the upcoming 15 days. And then BlueJean is pulling data for at least 45 days. So you would definitely see a difference between the two. So you can continue to log into BlueJean to see your redetermination, but the goal is for OEL to make that change on the provider portal for you all to be able to see all of your children. And if you did not know how to access the information from BlueJean, which is our legacy portal, once you are logged in, you can click where it says redetermination dates for the 14 kids. And once you click that, you'll be able to access the entry that shows all your kids, and then you can see all of the redeterminations that are upcoming. So we are working with OEL to make sure you don't have to log into BlueJean to do this, because we understand, like, we don't want you to use 2 systems. We want you to use 1 system because it's more convenient, it's easier, it's better. And I know you all are busy doing a lot of things throughout the day, but just wanted to clarify so everyone understand when they see that discrepancy between the children that are on the portal and the BlueJean system, that we all are, that you are on the same page as to what's going on.
Thank you. Howard has a question. The H is speaking.
That's actually a comment, and Hubert and I talk about this a ton. And again, thanks, Hubert, for the inroads to OEL to try and get these changes made. It's more for all of you guys out there, please don't be shy. If you don't understand how to do this, how to get to either BlueJean or EFS portal, to see when your kids are coming up for ReD, we don't want you losing these kids either. We know enrollments are down all over the place. It's a crying shame when kids lose their eligibility because a parent forgot to do their paperwork or didn't know how to do their paperwork. So whatever we can do to help there, but we know it's a help when you guys can see it also. When you guys can see that report quickly and easily saying, little Johnny is going to be terminated in 20 days or 30 days or 45 days, so we can get on it quickly. My editorial.
So I don't know if I'm watching the chat, I don't see any questions, but if you have any questions, just reach out to our staff and then we'll try our best to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Hubert. Thank you, Howard. Next up, last but not least, is Christine. Are you on, Christine?
Absolutely least and last, because I always have the bummer topic. So I'm bringing you the reconciliation update, which seems to be like one of those things that just won't end. But in fact, we are making progress. I'm happy to report that we are moving along on this. As you recall, the last time I spoke with you, we were about to send out letters where we were asking providers to acknowledge receipt of a letter where we were telling you our first take on what we thought any overpayment balances were. And then we were kind of trying to separate all the providers into groups. That process ended on Monday, April 19th was the deadline for us to receive those responses. Out of about 650 providers, 500 providers answered that request. And of those, 50 of them had balances that did not respond. we are pleased that we were able to get to so many of the providers that did actually have balances. And I will also say that of those 50 providers that have balances that did not respond, almost all of them are closed or out of business or not in contracts with us anymore. So almost every single active provider did respond to that. So I'm very grateful to everybody for helping us out with that. It's a help, gives us a great baseline from which we can move forward. About of the 500 that did respond, about 10% of those have actually already set up their repayment plans. Some people have already repaid us in full for their balance. Some have already started their installment plans. And then for the 70 and about 5% have submitted additional attendance that they were able to unearth based on the information that we sent. And we're in the process of doing adjustments to the balances for those providers. And the 75% or so remaining of that group, we're in the process of working with the providers to help them to verify those balances. And then we are going to be working with everybody to get a repayment plan in place for everybody by the end of June of this year. Just a couple of things I wanted to mention that we are discovering that are coming up. First of all, I just want to give you a reminder that the most important thing that you can do in your verification process is to get the roster of children correct, is to verify that we have the full roster of children that you served. A child that's not served is not paid for a whole month and can make a huge difference in how much how much our calculation of your overpayment is. So if you have attendance from children that is not recorded in EFS mod, those are the most important facts that we need to know in order to recalculate your balance. So please get in touch with your reimbursement specialist if you have that information, and we'll immediately process that adjustment and we'll send you an updated letter. The other thing is that we're getting some questions about how the installment plans go. We have a fair bit of latitude with OEL to be flexible about how the installment plans can be set up as long as they are within 1 year. We had to set some parameters around that in order to make sure that we were demonstrating to OEL that we were making a good faith effort to recover those funds. And so the clock for when 12 months actually must start begins in that final deadline for when we need to work with everybody on repayment plans, and that would be in June. So we've had some providers ask that they say they want to repay, but they don't want to start for a year. Unfortunately, we aren't going to be able to accommodate those requests because we have to start those plans by June, but we have to start the repayments by June. And then we would be able to authorize repayments for a year. Having said that, it doesn't mean that you have to pay the highest number or that you have to do all of your installments in equal amounts. If you're having challenges early in the process, you can set it so that your repayment plans are that you're paying a smaller amount at the beginning and that you increase the amount that you repay over time as we all recover from the pandemic and the current economic situation. There's also a lot of options that we can work out with you. If you need a plan that goes beyond 24 months, OEL has sets a bar that we have to do a fair bit of due diligence to determine the justification for the request for over 24 months. And there's a reasonableness standard that we have to make sure that we're able to establish for OEL before they will approve it. They won't approve unreasonable plans. The example that we always get is that somebody owes $1,000. We can't give them 36 months to pay it back. It's that amount and that length of time is not what OEL considers to be reasonable. And so we need to work out some alternative. I would also mention that Howard brought up the fact that we have some financial supports to providers that are coming down the pike in the future with some of this stimulus dollars and some of our internal grants and things. So I'm hoping that on balance with all of these things going on, that it will help to deal with the financial challenges of working with this reconciliation. But I know it's complicated. I know it's unpleasant. And the main thing we know is that it's not your fault. This is something that happened because of OEL's system problems, and it happened a long time ago, and it's been a long time in coming. And I appreciate everybody coming to the table and talking with us about how to get these balances taken care of over time. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, or you feel like you're just not comfortable with the process, or you just want to talk to somebody, we have an escalation process internally. You can always ask to talk to me or anyone else in our senior team about your concerns, and we will be happy to work through it. I'm pleased to say that this has been a pretty peaceful process since we began it. Everybody's been very helpful and cooperative and understanding, and we're trying to do our best to make this as small of a hardship as possible for as many as we can. So that's sort of all I need to say about that. So I guess that's it. If there are any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Christine. And yes, we are still doing VPK testing for AP3. That is still on. Nothing has changed with that. And with that, I think we covered everything again.
Hold on 1 second. There is a question there that I do need to make sure I answer. That it was asked, will there be a grant to help pay back the overpayment? I need to be clear that there is no such thing as a grant that is connected to the repayment plan. They make me say that. It's important to understand that that repayment of an overpayment is a contractual obligation that we are required by the feds and everybody else who regulates it to make a good faith effort to recover. However, it doesn't hurt that getting a grant from us at the same time might help offset and help you with your financial situation as you're repaying those dollars. So the short answer is there's no grant that's directly connected to the repayment plan, but yes, there are grants available, and on balance, they should help you with your financial circumstances as you're repaying these grants.
Thank you, Christine. See, such great information. We saved the best for last. So I guess with that, we are finished for today. I don't know about you guys. I know it's been a crazy day. I still haven't eaten lunch, which for me is, you're gonna get the hangry Allison soon. So we better end now because you don't want to see that. I wish you all a great rest of the week, and we will see you next month. It's the same Zoom link. So make sure for next month you do your makeup, you look pretty so you can come join us on camera, or just go au naturel like me, and just join us, and we'll see you next time. Take care.